Hello again, and this is another episode. I don't know what number episode we're on, but I know that we're on 11, a lot.
I think.
I don't know what episode, but and yes, I am wearing the same shirt that I wore in the first two. This has been a full day of content, and I am just beyond excited that we have, I call him Coach. I call him Coach because Elton calls him Coach, and that's just what I met him as. But his name is Jamie, but in Spanish it's Jaime. Jaime Garza.
Jaime.
Yes, Jaime. So, but this is Jamie Garza, and I have the privilege of serving with Coach on the worship team. So we've been on the team together for 14 years, or I have been. I've been on the team for 14 years. Coach has been a lot longer. And I asked him last Sunday.
Yeah.
If he would be willing to.
In between services.
I did.
No peer pressure.
Yeah, no. I have an uncanny ability to do those things. But I approached him and I just asked if he would share his journey and his story with Jesus. And Coach is also, I say also, Coach is single. So a previous episode I did with Gabby. But I really feel like this is something that the Lord wants to bring out. And I love that we have a female side of it. And now we get to hear a male's perspective. And we'll just see what comes out of it. So, Coach, Jamie, thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to share.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're excited to see what comes of this. Yeah. So let's just start with your story of your testimony about how you came to know Jesus. And
so I grew up in Spanish churches. Like, we would go to probably 3 different Spanish churches throughout the week, and that's just kind of how we grew up. And oddly enough, like, it was at a tent revival, and I was probably about 5. Wow. And I remember it was just a tent out there, and I think looking back, it was, they may have been showing a version of like Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames.
We talked about that with one of the other couples, and yeah.
Yeah, and so, but back then it was, and the Spanish churches are a lot smaller. They don't have children's departments. They, didn't have any of that.
They're running around everywhere.
Yeah, we're running around.
No,
everywhere.
te van a pegar con la chancla. Like, si no te apaciguas.
The thing was that we would play outside of the tent. And then I, got tired or whatever, wanted some water, so I'd try to go into the tent and find my mom. And I think I ended up seeing the scene where somebody went to hell.
Yeah. You don't like that scene. Yeah.
I don't want water no more. I call that outside.
You don't want that scene.
Yeah, so I got scared. And I went to the back of the tent and I prayed. And I said, God, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell.
Scared you straight.
Oh, man.
And,
no chocolate needed.
Yeah, no. And then that night, I had a dream of heaven, and I remember, you're in a long line, and you would step in this circle, and you would see 3 like judge things, and you'd look up, but I couldn't see up top. It would just fade into black, and there was a person in front of me that went on there, and the voice said, I don't know you. And the circle would disappear, and they would fall, and the flame would go up, just like in
Heaven's Gate, Hell's Flames, to a 5-year-old, yeah.
And so my turn to step on the circle, and the voice said, I know you, you're mine. And I was like, okay, and then all of a sudden, in dreams or whatever, you have cut scenes.
Yeah.
So, you cut it.
Edited.
Yeah.
They're edited scenes. Like, we don't want to remember that.
And then, I'm in heaven.
Wow.
The door open, the gates open, and this person meets me, shows me around, shows me other little kids there, and then says, but you'll be back, and it escorts me out. So I wake up the next morning and I tell my mom, hey, like, I had this dream. And she starts crying, and I'm like, why are you crying?
Porque she's emotional.
Well, and then so she starts telling, she asked me what I saw, and I told her, and she's like, all that's in the Bible.
Right.
Like,
you've seen heaven.
Yeah. And so then, around that time I started dealing with night terrors. So, so we ended up just kind of having to go through that little motion of night terrors and whatnot. And Anyway, I started getting old enough to ask my mom in middle school, like, hey, can I start going to an English church?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Middle school. So that's like not even, like, I guess 6 years later?
Yeah.
Yeah, fast forward. Yeah.
Yeah, so, can I go to an English church? And she's like, well, yeah, whatever. So we go to one that used to be a Philly station. So we used to go over there. And so she would drop me off, and then I made friends and whatnot. So I went there for probably about up until my early high school years. Whenever we went to church camp, got baptized in the Holy Spirit, being able to speak in tongues, all that good stuff.
With the evidence of speaking in tongues, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but then I had like a little type of issue there where it's like one day we showed up and the youth pastor was gone. No explanation, no anything. We try to ask questions. Everything's getting kind of covered. And so I finally kind of got to the point where it's like, I don't
want to go here.
Yeah, I don't want to go here. Like, but then I ended up not going anywhere else.
Mm.
And I ended up, ended up not going to church for like 5-6 years. And so...
So this would put you at about like 16, 17?
That just put me at 20.
Oh,
right, 19,
okay.
20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because what ended up happening is that after high school, I ended up getting a job as a teacher assistant and a coach here at
That's
Ingleton.
where the name comes from.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is that this first year I ended up coaching this little boy, and then the year after that I ended up coaching his brother. Well, apparently they had been talking about me to their parents. So then at the time my parents were actually going through a divorce, and so my world was shattering. And like
so this is like early 20s?
This was 19, 20.
Wow.
So about 20. And so then the mom comes and is like, hey, our boy's been talking about you, and they absolutely love you. We want to invite you to our church. And I said, I'm okay. Like, I appreciate it. And then so I walked away, but as I walked away, I said, you know what, God, if this is really meant to be, I want their dad to come ask me. Next week, their dad comes.
Oh my gosh,
like, hey.
Look at him.
And then, funny enough, they invite me to the Song of Solomon.
The play?
No, the series that we used to do.
Oh my gosh.
The Song of Solomon series. So then I'm over here thinking like, okay, well, I might meet some single ladies.
Oh my gosh.
No, there's a bunch of married people. But I went, and that's actually whenever I first met Elton.
Oh.
And Elton was teaching the class. He was just starting his dreads. And I just remember...
Elton was teaching a Song of Solomon class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like on a Wednesday night.
Elton's our worship leader, who is now married to Tiffany. But yes, okay, and y'all. So just full disclosure, Coach and Elton are like peanut butter and jelly. They're besties.
We're basically brothers at this point.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's so fun.
Yeah. So I go to that class and whatever, and then finally they were like, well, why don't you come to a Sunday with us? And I said, okay, I'll go on a Sunday. So I came on a Sunday. And as soon as I stepped in, I felt like God told me this is where you need to be. This is home. And we were still in the old building where all the offices are. Like, I think the only thing that was built was the dining room, which is now, I think, the Life High dining room.
Yeah.
And then it was the pavilion. So it wasn't even a building.
Courts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's when I started going. I think it was like 100 people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's hard for me to imagine. It's literally like times 10.
Yeah. So then, then I've been at the church for 23, 24 years. And I've been a part of pretty much every ministry there.
He was in the drama, too.
Yeah, I was in dramas.
Several plays.
Dancing.
Wow. Mira.
Well, and all that.
Talentoso.
All that stuff kind of came out of nowhere, too.
Wow.
Because I would just, you start kind of, you get a home.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that. You get a home, so then what do you do with a home? You start filling it. So you start seeing places that need to be filled. I can do that. I can see if I can do that. I can try to do this, and and that's what you start doing.
He's filling gaps.
Yeah, and other than I tried the kids ministry for 1 month. No, not that gap. There's other people for that.
Oh man! But, what are those things called? Shams, like the shims.
Oh, yeah.
Shims. They're like, this is not my space to fill.
No. But yeah, no, that's what I did. I filled in gaps.
Wow.
Just wherever I saw one or whatever been needed, and that's how I got into the drama type stuff. Because it was just like, well, we need somebody for this role, and I raised my hand. And Elton looks at me and goes, "Is anyone else interested?"
Anybody at all? Me? No. Is there anyone else?
And then you have like Benjamin Gambino.
Yeah.
He's like, Coach has his hand up, and he's like, "Yeah, anybody else?"
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious! I wish I could have been a fly on the wall, man.
So, but yeah, I helped. I was part of the it's called U-Turn at the time, youth ministry for 11 years.
Wow.
And then I transitioned over to the young adults ministry, and I was in the young adults ministry for 6, and I was over it for 4. And then I, had some kind of ministry, type issues or whatever, as far as just, that sounds bad.
It doesn't sound bad.
Let's just, yeah, sure.
Just moved.
And I ended up just kind of backing out and just kind of, reclusing back. And
but that was on you.
But that was on me. Yeah. That wasn't. I'm trying to think. There was something else in between it all. Oh, I mean, like on the worship team. Mm-hmm. And that's what I stayed in during that time. I stayed on the worship team, still doing all that. But I didn't start on the worship team as far as playing the bass until I didn't learn to play the bass until I was 29.
Oh, I thought you were like an expert.
No. I started at 29. I took 4 lessons.
Does anybody want to play a bass?
I can do that.
I'll play the bass. Get anybody else play the bass?
I got it.
Oh my goodness.
Anyone else?
No, who taught you how to play the bass?
Jacob Chamberlain. At a Super Bowl party.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because we were at a Super Bowl party at his house, and I was like, hey, because I beforehand I sang on the worship team. I sang for like a year.
Can anybody else sing on the worship? Oh my gosh, Coach!
So
wow.
We're gonna need a harmonica next week. Got it. Sign me up.
Yeah, so anyway, that was to fill a gap too, because again, I was working in the youth at the time, and they needed a bass player, and then they also wanted like another leader type on the team. So I was like, it's 4 strings, 1 finger at a time. I think I can do that, and so 4 lessons later,
you're on stage.
Yeah, I start playing
with a mic.
Yeah, and then about a year later. That's when they started actually having a full band for the first service on Sunday morning. So then I ended up being on that team. And then a year after that, I ended up becoming the main bass player for both services. So
I've been there. So we've been there now for 14 years.
Yeah.
So I guess we were right, and Jacob was still there when we got there. We got there. So I guess I would just kind of was able to get right into that transition for you. But also, I mean, okay, so this isn't about the worship team, but the worship team in and of itself transitioned, I want to say it's now transitioned at least 4 times since I've been there.
That's probably a good assessment, yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's just,
it's morphed.
It's morphed and it's shifted. So, but I think that can we just talk about, first of all, your willingness to do something out of the ordinary. So can I do it? I'll do it. I love, and people, I think what people misunderstand.
That's a lost ability, though, because so many people won't try anything unless they already know how to do it.
Can we just reiterate? I just asked him to do this on Sunday in between services. I didn't ask anybody else want to do a podcast with us.
Anybody
else? No, but
I can do it.
I think you need to it's about Coach. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate your honesty and even bringing that up. Like, just being willing to step into ministry, even though it's not. 4 lessons.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Let it rip, Tater Chip.
I learned like 3 songs. Yeah, I learned 3 songs and it's like, all right, let's go. Like, all right.
Okay. No, but I think that's so good. Just being willing to step into something, even though that wouldn't be your first choice. I mean, you're just willing to. And I don't. Was there even a pursuit of Jesus in that, or was it just being part of something?
It was just filling the gap. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I mean, like going back to my analogy. I mean, you're at home, so you fill a home.
Wow.
You fill in the gaps. You fill in what needs to kind of happen. And so, not need, but you saw that's
where
there.
there was a need. You fill in.
Yeah. So that's just kind of, I don't know. I mean, that was just there. I can't explain it. It was just automatic. Yeah.
But you yielded yourself to it too.
Yeah.
And allowed that.
Goes back to that Hell's Gate.
I don't want to go to hell. That's hilarious. So, I mean, I had similar experience. I mean, I had several because we did the Glory in the Fire at the Christian Center. We did the Glory in the Fire, and I was the drug addict Angel. That was not Angel, but my name was Angel, and I was part of a girl band, and I was handing out drugs to everybody. And the first time that those demons come and grab you, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm done. And then, of course, another encounter was Hell House, which I shared with Adriana and Greg. With that, did you ever experience that, or had you ever gone to Hell House?
I did, but back in I think we went to one in middle school.
Yeah, it was in Dallas. They had them in Dallas at the church that we went. Well, we weren't going to that church, but it was part of a tournament that we were part of. Anyway, long story short, it literally scared. And I'm not using profanity, but I was not where I needed to be with Jesus, and it scared hell out of me. I mean, it scared me because I knew that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to live that life.
Right.
And that anything apart from Jesus was darkness,
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, jack of all trades, can pick up anything. You want to crochet with me?
I thought about crocheting.
I can do that.
I thought about what are those things called? Wobbles?
They're hooked. Oh, I don't know, but I know that these are the needles, and then I have a hook. Okay, so let's talk about because you had mentioned something, and I don't want to go too deep into it, but I do want to talk about, you brought it up. And you had said that you were kind of just going through this transition. Could it, whatever side of ministry it was. Talk about your desire to continue to pursue despite unmet expectations from people, or maybe something that was said. Like, talk about your pursuit of that and just the importance of continuing to seek the Lord.
Right. So, as you build your relationship with God, you have to build a certain understanding of who He is, of who you are, and then not only that, but then who people are. Because the serving, the stepping into gaps. Along the way, I had people that didn't like that I stepped into gaps. Because you're stepping on other people's toes sometimes. But you don't know that because you're just trying to fill in the gap. And so you start kind of really trying to, there's certain, what's the word I want to use? Characteristics of God that starts filling in the gaps that you start having.
Wow.
And so as you keep yourself open to, instead of, getting mad at this person because they're mad at you, or blaming this person because this didn't happen, you say, okay, God, how do I need to see this? Like, where are you in this? This is just a person being a person, and this is still a person that you love. Not only that, but then personally, I've done this to you before. I've let God down. I've blamed God for things. I've done certain, whatever. But yet God has graciously forgiven me. God has graciously guided me, graciously helped me understand. Okay, God, help me bring that understanding to this other person who I need to have that understanding for.
Wow.
That I need to have that forgiveness for. And it's tough. But at the end, it's kind of like Alexis had, her message a couple weeks ago. Where
The
it was
fake fruit.
Well, and just if you don't prune, you get too heavy.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that, because I know there's probably several people that they don't even know what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, so whenever I think I'll try to make it as concise as possible, but you brought the scripture where you are the vine, I'm the vine, you are the branches, and part of being the branches and being healthy is sometimes you have to pull it back or prune it back. And so whenever you prune it back, you prune stuff that's either dead or stuff that's not needed because you need new growth. But if you don't do that, then the branches get too heavy, they start sagging.
And the fruit becomes soggy.
Yeah, and so
it pulls you down.
And it pulls you down. And so in order for me to have a heart that is willing to step into gaps, I have to be free. I have to be able to still move. And now I'm at a point now where it's like people are happy for me to move into somewhere because they see the fruit of what's going on. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was just 3 years ago, mm-hmm. I was playing on our team, mm-hmm. and whenever I wasn't playing,
you would play at Vita.
I was playing at Vita.
Mm-hmm.
At Vita, as soon as I asked them, like, "Hey, can I come play with you?" Yes, please come play with us. And then the dynamic that I was able to add over there, helping just with leading over there, helping with, I had some of the guys over there tell me like, "I'm so glad you're here this Sunday," or "I'm so glad whenever you're here." Because it just brings in a certain dynamic. Right. I'm not over here telling you, "Oh yeah, I do this and I do that." It's not me. It's just me being obedient to what God has me to be, and trying to keep the heart that God has for me to have.
Yeah.
So that whenever I do show up, people are like, "He's here."
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not about you. Because you never know and Gabby and I talked about this too, the fruit that you produce isn't for you. And Alexis brought that up in that message. It's for somebody else. And so what if God is bringing somebody at Vida, which I'm sure he already has because you're not serving over there anymore.
Right, no.
So someone sees you step into a role and God's pulling that out of them, and it allows them to see, hey, if God can use them, he can use me.
Right. Well, and that's actually what ended up happening, because whenever I had asked God, is it time for me to leave? I started kind of feeling like I need to start stepping away. And I felt like God said, yes, it's time to leave. Okay, what season? And, and once I kind of got that, I said, hey, okay, God, I'm praying for somebody else to come and step into this role. But not only that, but that can do more than what I can do, mm-hmm. More than what I've done. He brings in this whole family.
Wow.
And this whole family are singers, musicians. They have ministry leadership.
Wow.
They were, this whole family is like this total package. And then they brought friends from another church. They were seeking out a new church. Well, they ended up coming. And I said, you know what? This is it. This is the answered prayer. So at this point, they got 3 bass players.
There you go.
What? Maybe we need to borrow some of them. No, I'm just kidding.
So they got 3 bass players at this point.
Wow.
So it's like so that made me feel comfortable with saying, okay, it's time to go back into life. And to be honest, kind of hinting at what we had talked about before, start a healing process for me. Because I had told you at one point, like I hadn't shown up on a Wednesday night in like 10 years. Yeah. And so, last year I started figuring out I need to start kind of coming on Wednesdays. I need to start reinvesting into home again. Because, there for a little bit, home, I didn't feel home. But now as, I'm still there, I'm still serving.
Right.
There's that part of a guy that's kind of like, we feel like we have this duty.
Yeah.
We still have this, like, we still need to do this. We still need to be a part. But you can kind of shut down a lot of other stuff that you really shouldn't be shutting down, but you're still showing up.
Can you, because I'm not.
Let me ask you a question first.
Okay, yeah.
There's something that I've seen very challenging for most people in a church setting. And when you said it, I want to expand on it. I think some people have a hard time engaging at all, right? But I think people have a bigger challenge stepping back from a ministry. once they've started, because they feel like they're abandoning God.
Or that they're
or if I don't do it, nobody else will.
Right.
And so, if you don't mind spending a second, because you talked about briefly, you mentioned a process that as you felt the Lord leading you in a different way, that you kind of went through some sequential steps. Because I think it's healthy for everybody to help and volunteer and fill in gaps.
Right.
But you can also stay too long to where your fruit gets stale.
Right. Yeah.
And the Lord, I think it's just as important to know how to engage as how to step back and move when he tells you how to move.
Right.
And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I know a lot of people that struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
You mind walking briefly through that process, just a little bit more in depth, so that somebody could, since you've experienced it, because hey, I can do it, right?
Yeah.
That I think that could be
and
invaluable.
it's recent too.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, the part of the understanding too, which is again, understanding the characteristic of God, is that they're seasons. Yeah. Okay. Everything has a season. Everything has ebbs and flows. He's created it that way. We don't get to determine the ebb and flow, but we have to be able to understand that there is an ebb and flow. There is a season that happens. So whenever you have to be kind of sensitive to whatever God is either telling you, what you're feeling, what's happening. Because whenever I stepped in over there in Vita, I didn't know at the time, but they had gone through a traumatic experience. So I didn't know that I was part of actually coming in to help kind of heal.
Wow.
And they didn't know within myself that they actually were helping me heal as well.
The conduit for that.
Yeah. And so, but once you start kind of get to the point to where what happened is I started seeing them grow. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is like, I'm happy for them. I'm very, very happy for them. And I'll be honest, I started asking, okay, do I need to be a part of this?
Wow.
Do I need to be a what's going on? Do I need to, because I know, I can do that. I can help out with this. I can do this.
I can do that.
I can do that.
And then of course I'm a little older, mid 40s. So it's like I can help. I can help. Oh gosh, I just lost the word.
Facilitate.
To help facilitate, but also mentor. Because they have a lot of young pastors. They have a lot of young ministry leaders there.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them that just graduated college, or graduate college within the past like 3 or 4 years. And so they're very young. Ministries kind of happening there. So it's like I could help. With that too, and so I started asking God, like, is this for me? Is this not that? And I felt like God said no. They are, they're on the road. They're on the road that I have for them. You need to go back and go reinvest in your home. And I was like, okay. And trying to figure out, we need to figure out what that means.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, so then I'm about to transition out. I'm going to end up leaving a hole. And then not only that, but I'm the type of person too that I do feel like I can let people down easy. Like, how can I say that? That sounded bad. Like I worry about letting people down.
Yeah.
People pleaser.
You're sensitive to letting people down.
Yeah. And so I definitely didn't want them to feel like I abandoned them. Yeah. Because me personally, I deal with abandonment type issues. So I never wanted to make them feel like I abandoned them. So, okay, God. So how do I make them not feel abandoned, like I'm just walking away, like I'm just dropping them? So, so then before I leave, God, I want you to bring somebody else that comes and fills in my, what I do. But then, because I love them, I want you to bring somebody else who can do even more than me.
Wow.
And so,
but where did you learn that prayer? You had to have, you'd had to either learn that, or that's just part of scripture, or like, how did you learn that?
I'm just going to be honest. I just think it just comes out of love.
Comes out of humility.
Yeah.
Because if you have humility, it's your ministry isn't about you. your ministry is truly about the kingdom, and anybody that's truly about the kingdom wants to see the kingdom grow. And so if that's your heart and your prayer, your heart posture and your prayer, which is a fruit of the love,
right?
Yeah.
Then it comes naturally out of that, because it's not about what Coach could do or how many times he could raise his hand. It was about the church thriving by seeing God, not the church thriving like on a bank account or by numbers, but by them actually seeing the heart of God.
So, but I'm glad that, thank you for explaining that. That was directed to Coach. But thank you for talking through that, because that's truly, I mean, people try to ask, or they ask, why Chesed? Why do you talk about Chesed? That's truly what it means, is you look beyond yourself. You look outside of what you bring, and you look to the long suffering of the benefit of someone else.
Right.
That's truly what Chesed means.
And see, and to kind of bring it to what we, I guess maybe what we're initially talking about or whatever, is, being single. I'm able to move much freer to do that. But even to a certain degree, it also allows me to put that into practice. Because I understand the relationship with God, building your relationship with God, all that good stuff. But if and when I get married, I'm not marrying Jesus. I'm marrying another person like me.
Yeah. Right.
And
that other person may or may not agree sometimes.
Exactly.
It may be harder. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because with our relationship with God, we go back and it's like, okay, I did this wrong, or show me where I'm missing something. Or you go to the other person, like, no, that really hurt me.
Right.
They're like, we don't care.
No, that's very true.
Okay.
He's nodding his head like, I'm guilty. Okay, I did it. I'm guilty as charged. But even like in ministry, like we had to come to a place, in our marriage where, I'm very involved with the worship team. And at one point I was also very involved with the kids ministry. I mean, I was that person because I'm very much, I feel like I get my high or my enjoyment off of just being with people. Mm-hmm. That's where my cup is filled. He's not, and not that he doesn't like people, but he's not that way. And so he had to hone it back in and say, hey, you don't have to volunteer for everything. Have you asked the Lord if this is what he wants you to do? And if I was honest, I was like, well, no, they needed a gap filled.
You're like, it's at the church and they needed it. Why would I not do it?
It's a good thing, and it's not that way at all.
I remember asking, though, what if you're cutting off somebody else's opportunity?
Just like what he had brought up with Vida, and I think that's a beautiful illustration, because you just don't. And Gabby brought this up too. It's not about you.
Right.
Your ministry is not about you.
Yeah.
I know it's like your ministry. It's not even your ministry. I said that wrong. His ministry through you is not about you.
Right. Yeah. Because then that limits you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, do I want to do that? No, I don't want to do that. But then you just cut yourself off from learning something new,
right.
or filling in that certain gap,
right.
Because it doesn't fit you. Like you don't even know what fits you.
We like to think we do, but no, we don't.
No, a lot of times we don't even know. And a lot of times we don't even know what we can do.
Right.
We have no idea what's locked inside of us. And then yet God gives us opportunities. And as being single, you can start stepping in these opportunities because, I'm not being mean or anything. I don't have to worry about a wife. I don't have to worry about family I'm leaving at home. All of what I have at home will be at home whenever I'm done. I don't have to worry about, having to deal with childcare or dropping my kids off with my mom. I don't. Yeah. So then I get to be open to, let's see what this looks like. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, no, I can't do that. Okay.
But that's a perspective change that I think is crucial, especially this day and age. It's like you so badly want to be part of what everybody else is doing or what everybody else has that I think you miss out on mm-hmm. the beauty of what, and this sounds so like Jesus joke, but what you and the Lord can do together.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
and just allowing him to do it, mm-hmm. and being open to it, because I told you, and I kind of hinted that I served in pretty much every ministry at the church, even the women's ministries. I've served in there doing the sound and all the good stuff. I used to make videos for U-Turn way back when, before we were even doing videos.
Wow.
I mean, there was just so many things. I remember. And I did it on
I'm
my
excited.
own.
You're laughing.
No,
I'm excited.
It's just I did it on my own, where I bought the video software. But I had like this real basic computer, but I didn't know at the time. And so I bought the video software, and then that didn't work. So then, okay, I got to upgrade my GPU. Okay, so cool. So I get a GPU, that starts working, and then my power supply burns out because I'm pushing too much. So then now I got to buy a new power supply. So it's just,
But okay, so because I know what Coach did, or because I know what Coach does for a living, do you think that opened up like an opportunity for you to get the job that you had? Or because I mean, he was technology for our school district for a while.
Yeah.
And now you still do technology?
Yeah, I still do technology.
Yeah.
Right now.
So.
Yeah. So no, but because that was the first time like I'm having to change out hardware. Like that I've never done before, but my desire to want to serve and make these announcement videos, or make these videos of whenever we went to camp and all that stuff, it was just there. It's like, okay, well, I guess and then I'm spending my own money doing this stuff, and so you have these interlating abilities that you don't even know that you have. Oh. Until you start wanting to fill in these desires. And again, like I said, it's your home. Whenever you start feeling like, church is your home, or this is a home that God has for you, you're gonna start
looking
filling
for
it
those
in.
Places. Yeah.
You're gonna. I mean, I can't say I can't just say it enough. And and I mean, like even right now, if I'm not on the worship team, I'm greeting. And that was on purpose, is because I started feeling like I was getting disconnected from the people at Life Church. I remember they had and I can't remember who it is now, but they had like an announcement like, hey, if you want to be part of this ministry, see this person. I was like, I don't even know who that person is.
Yeah.
I have no clue who they are.
Wow.
Like, oh, I've gotten disconnected. Right. Okay, well, how do I get connected? How do I start meeting people? I'll be a greeter, and I'll just start saying hi to people and start meeting people, and it's been fun. It's been very, very fun.
So for you and I, that's very natural. That comes very natural to us. It fits our personality, or at least I think it does. Like just being willing to go up and meet people. But what would you say to someone, like especially guys, they're more reserved and they want to try to find their place? Like what would you say to them to do?
Well, there is our church is so big, and there is a place for everybody. Mm-hmm. But then, a lot of times, as you've hinted at before, where it's like you have to be willing to kind of go out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times for guys too, let's just say, well, whenever you're greeting, right, you don't have to worry about rejection.
They have to say hi back.
They have to say hi.
If you don't say hi back, I'm locking the door.
Oh my gosh,
So
Coach.
get in here and say hi to me.
You're coming here anyway.
You're
say
coming
hi
here.
to me.
Yeah, just good to see you.
They don't say hi. They just walk by.
Yeah.
I used to be like, hey, it was a great talk. And then they'll turn and look at me. I'm like, oh, so you did hear me.
I cannot.
Ann came and had a talk with me about that.
Yeah.
That's why they don't let me on the care team anymore by the door. I got too smart aleck.
Oh my gosh. No, but seriously.
But
I love that.
But so, but the thing is that, there's a personality type for everything. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think I would be real good on the security team. I'm a little too kind of aloof. But then you also got, if you want to still serve, but not necessarily say hi to people, serve donuts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or keep the flow of coffee and everything going. But you're gonna have to be willing to do a little something that maybe you may not normally do. And so it's trying to figure out, okay, because everything takes incremental steps. Like hardly ever will you ever be like, I've never sang before. Now I'm on the worship team singing.
Right.
No,
That doesn't happen
that's
like that.
usually not going to happen.
No, that doesn't happen.
You know, or like
You find a Super Bowl party to go to.
Yeah.
And someone teaches you how to play the bass.
Yeah, and then no.
Then 4 days later.
I'm there.
Or like you record a podcast and then you become part of the media production team.
Yeah.
No, that's not what happens. But
No.
at least you try.
But at least, yeah, you put out and be okay to, I don't want to say fail, but be okay to figure out, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. You know, I had to do that whenever I was volunteering, because whenever I volunteered for everything, I was trying to figure out, like, where do I fit? And the 3rd and 4th grade wasn't it. It wasn't. And so, you know, thankfully I was coupled up with a couple. And so I could be like, y'all are gonna go ahead and take the rest of the month. I can't do this.
And that was okay.
And, but
That
you
was
need to
okay.
be okay with doing that.
Yeah.
You know, being okay with that type of stuff. And there's nobody at the church that's gonna be like, well,
No.
I can't believe that they did that. Like, no, because there's areas that a lot of those people won't be doing either.
This is true.
And if
Because-
they do, we
true.
got a class for that, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. Either a class or a book.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to so I wanted to touch on as a guy. It isn't natural for you to find community. As a guy, I think it's very, and I've heard him say this several times too. There have been times where he's actually felt like what was the term that you used? I feel like I'm my own tribe.
No, you're a man without a tribe.
I'm a man without a tribe.
I could get that. I could understand that. A lot of my openness socially has come from my relationship with Elton. Just to be honest.
So you're saying like you need to find someone that may bring that out of you, or find someone that's completely opposite.
Somebody that you're safe to be yourself.
Okay.
You know, because a lot of times that is kind of the fear, and part of it too, just, you know, being older again and being single allows me that freedom to find that, versus, you know, to find, you know, because I love couples, and there's a lot of my friends who are married.
Like Elton and Tiffany are married.
Right.
So.
But Elton, whenever he got married, he was older.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's still a certain amount of autonomy that he has, where people who have gotten married younger and they've had the whole kind of growing up together and building together, they're not quite as free to be able to leave. To not leave their marriage, but to be able to just have a night out.
Do things.
Yeah, to do things. And it's tough. I understand. I've seen it. And the frustration of it all. And then in turn that causes frustration within the marriage as well.
Right.
And so and then for guys, from what I've noticed, is whenever they get married, they lose a lot of their friends. And who they start gaining are their women, or are their wives' husbands.
That's what he does.
Friends.
He's like, your friends really don't even like me. Their husbands just come because they're friends with you.
Yeah, and so it's just
That's
like,
not
well,
true.
it's like
It's not true.
I
You
don't-
don't live the other side.
I don't.
true.
It's like I don't care too much for George. He's okay, but he wouldn't be my pick of a friend. But he's here because his wife is here, and his
Yeah.
wife's friends with you, and y'all are talking, giggling in the back.
George is just a
We
name.
don't know George.
No, there is no George. It's just generic. But I'm
it's
really
true,
glad you
though.
bring that
Yeah.
up.
It's-
Yeah.
And then I
Because a
change-
wife's not going to go somewhere that they don't want to go.
right,
And
right.
they're going to, or if they do, it's going to be full.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to be there. So, I
Right.
mean, it only ends up going one way.
And so
That's
I try
true.
to be the friend again, because I'm single. I can come in and hang out, and I am the choice that the husband would have as being a friend. But then also tending, you know, usually the wife actually likes me as well.
No, I love
So
George.
then,
He's awesome.
so then,
Brenna, friend, I can do that.
yeah, I can do that. Anybody else?
Anybody else need a friend? I can rent me. I rent out my services as a
Yeah,
friend.
because whenever I know, like, with, you know, I've been around families enough, I've been around
We
couples
should
enough.
start a DoorDash.
Friend dash.
Friend Dash. Oh my gosh. gosh, Coach.
Got an awkward husband coming over? I can come.
Dude, never mind. I'm not gonna go into that. But like, because I understand.
Speak to that.
The way that I see it is every family has a rhythm.
Yeah.
They have a rhythm. They have a song. Okay, and so whenever you come in, are you going to add to that rhythm? Are you going to add to that song? Or are you going to clash with it? And so I have had to, over the years, develop the ability to add to the rhythm of a family.
Wow.
Because I want to be a part. I don't like coming into a place and disrupting. That's not who I am. I hate that. So if I can turn around, if I can find the rhythm of that family, then I will be an addition to that family, or in addition to the rhythm of what's going on. And so then that allows me to be able to, not only am I the husband's friend, but I'm also the wife's friend. And now I'm a friend with this couple, and I become a safe friend.
Wow.
And then in turn, whenever it's like, hey dude, like, you want to go to the movie? The wife isn't like, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What else is going to happen?
Right.
Like, no, like, we're just going to go to the movie, you're going to hang out, and then, and that's it. Like, I'll have him home at a decent time,
Not going to take him to, someplace.
Yeah. And so you end up just kind of being able to develop that, and being able to like I said, being an addition to, and not take away from whatever is going on. And a lot of times, too, sometimes that means for me to back away from certain family aspects that's going on. Right. Because, okay, like, either I can't match this rhythm, you're out of rhythm, which is not normal for me. If I care, that sounds bad. If I care enough, and if I love you enough, I'll start questioning, what is this rhythm? Wow. Because this isn't your natural rhythm.
Well, you could rephrase it. You can't drive a tank across a toothpick bridge.
Right.
If you don't have a deep enough relationship, you can't question that rhythm.
Right.
But if you have a deep enough relationship, you can say, dude, what's going on?
Right, exactly.
But if you don't have that relationship, you have no grounds for that.
Yeah.
And you can't, it's not a place that you can step in unless you're asked to.
Exactly. And not only that, sometimes it's building that trust with that person to be able, especially with guys.
Right.
You have to be like, okay, look, dude. And it depends on how I approach it as well. It's like, hey, I know something like is kind of going on. I know something's a little different. What's happening? Please tell me what's happening. I want to understand. And then as long as you kind of come in, because anytime I've dealt with people, I try to keep, I want to understand, being my flag, being my banner. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to do any of those things, but help me understand. Mm-hmm. Help me understand what's going on with you. Help me understand how we got here. Help me understand what happened. Mm-hmm. And what has that done to make you feel that way. And then, that I felt like that's allowed people to be able to really actually talk.
Right.
Versus, what did you do wrong?
Well, and that may even be an aspect too for the husband. I mean, it's like, okay, so for example, since we're talking about, a married couple and then having a friend, and Gabby brought this up too, which I think it fits beautifully. But it's okay to be part of that growth. And when I say part of that, I mean, you're obviously, it's okay to kind of see that relationship and be like with them as a friend, because there may be things that I can't relate to Michael with in a certain situation, but he may need that friend mm-hmm. that he can trust.
Right.
And that brings a whole nother aspect of community. Mm-hmm. That's, you're still supporting the marriage, you're still encouraging them to follow the Lord. But like I said, men and women we're different.
Yeah.
And like, so outside of our married friends, he needs, he would need someone, a confidant. And that, I think that brings something into guys that are single. You can be that for,
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is as a single person, knowing what's off your limits. Mm. Because there could be certain subjects where I'd be like, hey man, that sounds tough. I don't really know
Right.
Like, that's not something I've come across. That's not something I know about, and so then I have to, because a lot of times too, especially if it's your friend, right? And then you have somebody that comes against your friend, you're like, how dare they?
I know. You wanna cope with them. It's like, chisme.
Yeah.
Dime chisme. Like,
Yeah.
and you want to be alongside them and be like, I know how you feel.
Yeah,
They're so wrong in that.
I
and
can't believe they did that.
And you can't.
Yeah,
You
and
can't.
I can't.
Because that turns you away from the Lord.
Right.
It's not part of restoration.
Right. And then, you always have to understand with couples, you may be just hearing one side.
Right.
And then
that's good.
there's always another side of what's happening. And I've just noticed, again with couples, they spend so much time together. And, and so, but there's a lot that gets missed.
Mm.
One of the aspects I find funny about couples is hearing the little jabs.
Yeah.
At each other, just during like, hey, we're just riding to go to the restaurant, or we're just riding to go to dinner. I'm just riding with them, and all of a sudden there's these little jabs that kind of come in. I'm like,
where's that coming
yeah,
from?
where's that coming? Like, that's weird. And then not only that, but then you hear the jab, and you're like, why does that matter?
Right.
Like, they have their own like inside joke. Because I don't mean inside jokes, but they have their own inside jab.
It's their own. You were talking about the rhythm. It's their rhythm, but something's off.
Right. And so, and then not only that, but then you feel comfortable just saying that in front of me. Like, okay, do we need to...
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, do we need something? And, again...
You want me to be coach, ref? I'll be the ref. Hey, can we have anybody else? Yeah. No, but that's so true. That's so good.
And so, but again, you have to be sensitive to where am I off limits? Because I need to be off limits, because you don't want me speaking into certain things that I know nothing about. But that has to be done by me. I'd rather it be done by me than having a couple tell me, no, you don't talk like, you're not allowed into that area.
Well, and that's an area of humility, though, being willing to know, like, that's not your place, or just knowing where you stand.
Right. Yeah, and then there's sometimes where it's like, hey, look, this might be a little tough, and I apologize if I overstepped my boundaries, but this is what I see. Mm. And again, it's always like, I'm not saying I'm right, but
this is what
I see. Take it as you will. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And, you just kind of take it from there. Sometimes that garners trust, and then they're allowed into that area. And sometimes it's like, yeah, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Sounds good.
But having that, just being able to have that maturity, that's really, really big. Okay, so I was looking at the time. I have one question, or a big question. Okay. So you're middle-aged, single. Mm-hmm. What is a message that you would tell maybe someone that's been married before and they've had it rough, and now they're walking this road of singleness and they're trying to understand where they are? What would you encourage them as far as with the Lord? Like, how does that look, and what would that look like? Just to encourage them the right thing to do.
So I would probably say definitely keep yourself social. Definitely keep yourself around people, and the right people. We have a lot of groups, specifically at the church, that meet a lot of statuses, and then there's just a lot of just good people at our church.
Yeah.
And
it always sounds like we're putting a commercial on for Life Church. The point is you need to find your community.
Yeah, you need to find somewhere that you can find the community of people, because number one, a lot of times whenever stuff like that kind of happens, you end up wanting to isolate yourself because you think you're the only one. And there's just a way of that kind of just sneaking into our heads and into our hearts, where the reality is that you are not the only one. Mm. There's many other people who have gone through what you've gone through. Number two would definitely be to develop a certain type of servant heart or servant mindset. And, because a lot of times, again, we go back into we start, just folding in and thinking about what we got going on and what's happened to us. And if you do that for too long and that goes unchecked, all you do is you eat yourself. Where if you start having start developing a mind of being able to serve others, then you start being able to go out of yourself and stop, concentrating on yourself, and you're able to see what's going on with other people. You're able to see, excuse me, you're just able to start developing relationships with other people where you start realizing you're not cutting off your nose. You're not cutting yourself short because of a circumstantial type of thing. That there's more to you than what's happened to you.
That's good.
And so, because a lot of times, that's part of the trick, right? We go into church and we think these people know about my shame. They know about what's happened to me. They know about, the stuff I'm hiding. These people don't have a clue.
Oh, that's so good, Coach.
They really don't.
They don't.
They don't have a clue. And there's more people willing to love on you than what you think. But you also can't be a porcupine where you just want to have your needles out ready to defend yourself. You have to allow yourself to be loved, because we're all independent people. And so if you want to put yourself out there like you don't want to be loved, and then you get mad because nobody's loving on you,
look at yourself.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, no, that's good.
You're the ones with your needles out.
That's good.
I'm sorry, and so so if you put yourself in a position to where you can be reached, that you can be loved on, that you are available, and you just kind of take it from there, because then people will be attracted to you. God will send people your way, but people will only take rejection so much. And that's just the truth of the matter, and so you end up having to be welcoming still. And I know that maybe you've been hurt, maybe, something else has been going down, maybe, something's been sitting on your chest for a long time, but you have part of God working and part of God moving is also through other people that he puts into your life.
That's very true.
You can't just sit there and just pray about it and play a worship song about it and do whatever about it and read your Bible about it. God moves through other people too.
That's good.
It blesses other people to love on you.
That's good.
I don't care who you are. It blesses other people to love on you. And so, and then, as hard as it is for some people, you need to be accepted to be loved on. Because some people have a hard time of being accepted to be loved as well. And so you have to, in the same way that we can have that negative order of selfishness and
because it's so easy.
Stuff.
I mean, that's so easy to fall into that, especially whenever you've been hurt.
Right. But then the order of God comes in, and you have to be able to be loved on and love, and get yourself out of that by working about other people. And then, because that's the fear, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I concentrate and I'm helping out with these other people, who's going to worry about me?
Michael just talked about that the other day.
And so, but you have to allow God to be able to step in and sweep in and bring people about into your life to work and understand. I mean, but all of that takes trust. All that takes faith, hope, and love. And you have to understand that, we have to put in those seeds first. And we have to give God the room to be God.
Yeah.
We have to give him room. And because we can't not give him room and then be like, well, where's
Where
God
were
been
you?
this whole time?
Yeah.
Well, you never gave me room. So I mean that's kind of my advice.
No, that's good.
As far as
that's really
that
good.
goes.
Michael had just talked about that. We were talking to a couple recently, and they had just gotten really frustrated with. He had gotten really frustrated with where he was, and Michael just very, bluntly told him, "I know it's easy to think if I'm looking at my wife, and if I'm concentrating and focusing and putting all of my energy in serving her and." Trying to be Jesus for her and how love her like Christ loves the church, who's going to look out for me? And it's very easy to fall into, almost like resentment toward that. So, but just keeping yourself available, and I say available, not like, hey, all the single ladies, like, he's available. No, but just keeping yourself vulnerable, being willing to be vulnerable, not only to the Lord, first and foremost to the Lord, but to people that are willing to love you.
Yeah, because they're there.
Yeah.
They're there. You know, you have to show up.
Right. That's so good. And I think you hit on one of the things is like people, they shy back away from, especially whenever they've just gone through something traumatic, they shy away, they want to recluse because they're like, people are going to bring this back up. They're going to, they're going to hate me. They're going to judge me. They're going to, what did I do wrong? And it's like, you couldn't be farther from the truth. People are so caught up in their own. They just want to be there to love you.
Well, so. and to be honest with you, that's whenever my ministry with the young adults ended. Mm-hmm. That's the way I felt. And, it's sad to say and sad to look back now. I shut myself down for 10 years. 10 years. A whole decade of me just shutting myself down. And the only thing I did was play and worship on Sundays. You wouldn't notice. Like, the only people that noticed were people that were close to me, which is only a handful. Outside of that, it's shut down. And, and before all that happened, I was in Siri's office, and he warned me. The same warning that I just gave was his warning to me. And I didn't take it because I was so turned into myself.
Wow.
And so, and now, a decade has been wasted, but the other aspect of it is that God's a redeemer of time. And I'm going through my healing process now, and I don't know what God has for me next. I don't know what God has going on for me. And I find it kind of funny too, because especially a lot of new people at the church. This is the way I feel. Maybe I'm not right, but a lot of the new people at the church, it's almost kind of like, well, they like me because
they don't accept that people really just like you because of you.
Yeah, but then they don't know what I've done. Like, as far as, like, they don't know the ministries I've been involved in. They don't know the ministry that's in me. They just kind of like, well, he's likable. We hear his laugh. He's on the worship team. He comes in, greets me. He smiles. He's, like you had said earlier, he's vibrant. Whatever. They know that, but they don't know the depth of where
you came from. Yeah,
of what's happened and where I've come from and what God's done. So it's interesting, and so now it's almost kind of like I'm reinventing. I won't say reinventing myself, but it's definitely like some type of newness is happening, and I'm excited to see what God brings within this next season of my life, because it's been cold and dark for a while, and one of the things that the way I described myself to be was like I was just a lump on a log, and whatever moss grew over me, it grew over me. Like, I didn't care.
Wow.
But now, it's like as I'm growing and as I'm, coming back to life, and now as I see certain things, I'm like, I'm mad. I'm upset that I wasted this time, and that I had this type of mentality. And just to kind of go back into what we were kind of talking, I don't know what type of husband I would have been during that period. I don't know what type of dad I would have been during. But then again, I may have had a Latina wife that would have snapped me right out of it. I don't know.
Like, no tengo tiempo, mira, pon atención. No.
But
no, that's so good.
But so you have these you have these little dynamics that happen in your life, and I know what it's like for me to work through them, but I don't know what it's like to work through them while I have somebody next to me, and how that would affect them. And then you have the littles behind you, And so whenever it comes to marriage and all that stuff, I think that's, that is such a high calling. I just see it as such a high calling to be married. I see it as just almost even like to even a certain degree unforgiving because it still goes.
Wow.
Like, there's no like,
you don't get a break.
No.
You don't get a timeout.
whenever I was able to say, you know what, I think this area of ministry is finished, your wife says, no, it's not. Then the kids say, no, it's not. And so it's something that really pushes those aspects of, okay, who has God made you to be? Who is this woman that, as a guy, who is this woman that God has placed into my life that is to help me through these hard times? Who is she? Like, why is she, sometimes maybe be like, why is she still here? But God's done that. And then on the other end too, as a wife, it's like, who is this husband? Guy? Yeah, this guy.
Who is this man?
I wake up and he's still here.
Oh, that's so good.
But the aspect is that, one of the things that people forget about, and as I've gotten older, my view of marriage has actually changed a lot. And because I saw it as, I think I bought into the Disney, and then bought into all that stuff where now I feel like I
did too.
You straight up told me this is not a Disney movie and you are not a Disney princess. Don't even lie. Don't even lie.
And so, but we forget about the power of the growth of the hard times, of what that does to bring two back into one.
Yeah.
Even whenever those times of separation want to happen, it's that bringing that two back into one, and just the power of what that means to you as an individual.
Yeah.
And then what that means to you with the relationship of God. That God holds this together, that God keeps this together. This has so many different ways of going south, so easily, but God is saying, I'm holding it. I'm still holding it.
That's good.
And so I love, kind of being able to see that aspect of it, and to be able, that's one thing too, is that I've tried to never be one of those people that are like, well, they got married, when's my turn?
Gabby talked about that too.
They got this, when's my turn? I try not to be that, because I don't want to take away of somebody else's celebration. I want to be able to celebrate with people. I want to be able to celebrate with my loved ones. I want to be able to celebrate things that are worth being celebrated.
That's beautiful.
And so if I end up having that little inkling of, well, what about me? To me, that tarnishes it. Mine's going to come in time. Mine's going to come with whatever measure that it's going to need to come with. And in the meantime, I still need to figure myself out. I still need to figure out what else God may have for me. I still need to figure out all these different kinds of things and enjoy my relationship with God. Enjoy the people that God has placed in my life. Enjoy the ministry that He has placed in my life, and enjoy serving those that I love.
Wherever you may volunteer.
Yeah, wherever that may be.
No.
And so, so it's always just having to keep all that in mind and keep the main, keep it simple.
Keep the main thing.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so, anyway.
Wow, that was, I'm not going to say that took a turn. So whenever we do these podcasts, I have something in my mind of how it's going to go. And every single time the Lord's just used whoever it is that we have just to bring something, just to chew on. So Coach Jamie Hyman, thank you so much for just giving us that insight, of what it looks like as a single guy, and just how you come alongside your friends at different seasons in their lives in different places. And also just being willing to shed light on stepping in where it may not make sense, but stepping in where the Lord's called you, and just stepping out in faith to see where the Lord might grow you. That's awesome. So I thank you so much for being here. I hope you had fun.
I did. No, thank you guys for having me. And I saw.
I didn't say anybody else. Can anybody? I literally just I made a beeline to him, and I was like, "Hey, why don't you do a podcast with us?" And you were like, I mean, okay. Like, I don't know what I'm going to say on a marriage podcast. I was like, I think you can talk to, and I, like I said, I had an idea in my mind and you superseded that. So
Good.
thank you. No, you brought something up that I would have never thought about. So is there,
Well, and then I also, like, I watched a few before I came over.
yes. Yeah. He's
And I'm like, I don't have any notes. Like, everybody else had notes. I don't have any notes.
I never have notes, so don't
Your
worry.
notes are here. No, it was so good. So thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and it was a lot of fun.
Good. Thank you. All right. This is Chesed Marriage. This is Coach Jamie Garza, and we are so thankful for him being here today. So thank you.